Professor Dr. Niko Mohr. He is professor at the University Regensburg for Innovation and Technology Management. He's also expert partner at Digital McKinsey. And he will bring you the topic on stage, the intersection of quantum technology with navigation and medical technology. So we're looking especially at quantum sensing this time. And he'll bring with him a beautiful panel on stage. We have Dr. Katrin Kobe. She is CEO at a startup, Bosch Quantum Sensing. We mentioned that a little bit earlier, as Bosch is our hosting partner. We have Dr. Janina von SIEMENS Healthineers, Stefan Bogdanovic von SandboxAQ, and Alberto Comin, Central R&T at Airbus. And with that said, please come to stage. Give an applause, please, to our panel.
So, thank you, Mira,
yes.
for this kind introduction.
Yeah, Nico, it's so great to have you. Have fun, everyone.
Right. Thank you. Super. So, please come and join me on this panel here. I'm very much honored to be the moderator of this fantastic panel. So great minds coming together here discussing the topic of quantum sensing. And the topic of the panel is, you know, how quantum sensing will revolutionize, especially navigation and medical technology. So we will discuss a little bit what is quantum sensing in its specifics, and of course then also talk about navigation and also discuss the use case of medical technologies. And let me start with Katrin, with you and your presence here at the quantum effects. So what is quantum sensing in the context of Bosch? Maybe you can explain us a little bit what you are doing there.
Yes, quantum sensing is a beyond theme in Bosch. So this is one of the topics where Bosch is really working on the edge of the technology. And our goal is from the startup really to bring this technology out of the lab in the market. So the startup is focused on the commercialization of the quantum sensors.
So when you say commercialization, you know, it's it's a big word. Yeah. What does that mean in the context of quantum sensing?
It means that you have a small and robust sensor, which you can really produce in a scalable way, so that in the end you can have an also consumer good, and to become a consumer good for quantum sensors.
Yeah, but you know the specifics are in, especially also in miniaturization, yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. So how far are we?
So we are. You can see at our booth. We are also we're able to reduce it from a lab size now to a handy size, and the real challenge is to get the right components with the right specifications, because it's a really new topic, and we have to build up an ecosystem, because there's nothing on the shelf that you just can buy. So this is the challenge for the miniaturization, to get the components in the way like we need them.
And how long will it take until we have a meaningful product?
So we are working on different pilot cases, and we will have first products. But if we come to the scalable way and real mass production, it will take maybe a decade from right now.
So another 10 years.
Another 10 years, but this does not mean that we can't use them upfront. Yeah. So we will have also small production sizes, and we'll be able to really implement it in the market.
So Stefan, maybe coming over to you. You are from SandboxAQ. Maybe you tell the audience a little bit, what is SandboxAQ and what are you guys doing in the context of quantum sensing?
Yeah, thank you, and a pleasure to be here. SandboxAQ is a startup in the Silicon Valley. We originated from Alphabet, so we started as a team at Google. Right now, as of January 2022, we spun out as an independent startup. And AQ really stands for the intersection between AI and quantum. And we believe that this intersection can really solve some of the world's most challenging problems today. So part of it is quantum, and really quantum sensor development and the system of sensors development is really one driver of this meaningful and impactful change. And the other side is AI will change most of, or if not all of the aspects of humanity. We think there is a huge potential for AI to disrupt and benefit the quantum technology as well.
As you are a spin-off from Google, your, I would say, core competence is in software. Yep. Yeah. So how important is software in the quantum sensing context?
It's absolutely important. Classical and AI software as well. I would say it's very difficult to talk about universal things because sensors are different.
Let's talk a bit about the layers. So operating software, operating system software, application software, orchestration layer.
Absolutely. So I think the biggest downfall of quantum sensors is the greatest advantage. They are great at picking up magnetic fields, but they're also sensitive to all interference from the environment. And this is where classical software and AI comes into play. The classical software layer makes sure that your system of sensors is orchestrated. You need many sensors, depending on the environment you're operating in order to efficiently reject interference and measure useful things. In healthcare, in navigation, this is particularly important. The operating environment is just too noisy. So the classical software shell is really there to synchronize the readings together and make sure to get a meaningful, kind of unified reading of your sensors. And then AI, in particular, is there to learn what is a meaningful signal, what is the noise interference, and clean up your signal and basically make sure that you get an actionable signal out of this. That's one big part of the AI application.
Explain us a little bit the real importance of AI. Whenever I talk with Jack, your CEO, I discuss it with him all the time, and he's very bullish about having AI being included in any kind of quantum sensing environment. So why is that so important?
Yeah, I think if not 90% of quantum sensor problems lie in the noise, in the interference, and AI is incredible at understanding, picking up what is noise, what is useful, and cleaning up your signal in denoising. The second part is maybe as equally or not, if not more important, is really translating this, and this is, you don't even need a quantum for this. AI has been really shown that in classification of signals coming from your imaging sensors, let's say in healthcare, or in navigation as well, it allows you to have an actionable item. Does this patient need to stay in a hospital or can be released? Where am I on the map as I'm navigating? AI really takes the output of the system of sensors and maps it to something that humans can use in a real world.
Yeah, so when we now move over to the use cases, I know you guys are doing experiments with different use cases from Bosch side, from Sandbox side. Coming over to Janina, and I have to correct one thing. Since 1st of October, you are now responsible for healthcare at Siemens AG.
That's
so
correct.
Tell us a little bit, what is quantum sensing being able to do in the context of healthcare?
Absolutely. So I do believe that there is a variety of different use cases, especially in the big ologies, thinking of cardiology, neurovascular diseases, but also oncology. And here it is important to look into prevention, diagnosis, and therapy. So looking into those three, as we call it, ologies, cardiology, neurology, oncology. Take cardiology, for instance. Quantum sensing would be advantageous because you don't need to implant any or attach any sensors like in an ECG. And quantum sensing is super fast, it's accurate, so you could also prevent like atrial fibrillations, which could cause stroke. So in the end, look into the costs and the health. Both aspects are extremely important. There is statistics published by the American Heart Association. If it comes to costs to the healthcare system in the US for cardiovascular diseases, it sums up to 300 billion a year. So just imagine if you could prevent stroke, AFib, cardiovascular disease, and have a cost saving or cost avoidance use case. Plus, looking at a patient side, all of us will be at some point of our time patients in a hospital. Imagine how adventurous it would be for you to have this kind of quantum sensors that are not invasive but keep you at health and could also monitor your therapy, for instance. That was cardiology. Looking into oncology, one use case, one interesting use case might be that quantum sensing could detect the radicals that are in your bloodstream, in your body, thereby identifying cancer before it even manifests, before you get symptomatic. So also here for you as a patient, I believe there is a lot of benefit, plus looking into the tension field, healthcare providers, industry, but also the payers, the insurance companies. This is something where you could really build a very tangible business case by implementing these kind of new technologies. Yet I'm with you, Katrin, it will take some time. Especially healthcare is a very regulated market. So having something introduced to the market as a medical device, I believe it will take some years from now.
Where do you see the biggest hurdles to make it usable? Yeah, when we had a pre-discussion about the panel, you also mentioned, patients as someone who needs to be convinced that there is an advantage.
Absolutely. So first of all, just referring to you guys, it's a stability. Of course, it needs to be robust. And this leads to the patient perspective. Me as a patient, I would want to have a device that I could 100% rely on, also on the data. Yet we all have experienced the discussions that are currently ongoing if it comes to artificial intelligence. There is a certain, I would say, pressure and insecurity built up in patients, but also in the broader public. So now imagine you are talking about quantum sensors and how it works, and people don't understand. This might cause the big hurdle for patients to be willing to take these quantum sensors and kind of rely with their lives, with their health on that. And this discussion, I believe, is really important that we have it also openly, like we are already having seen in the past for AI, for instance. There is a lot of good that could be done, yet we can't just neglect also the risks that come with it.
Stefan, Katrin, I know you guys are experimenting with this use case as well. So, can you give us an idea where this, how far we are, how good is the progress in that space?
I would say from our point of view, the progress is tremendous. So, because it's a total new technology, you learn with each measurement, you learn with each experiment. So there's a huge progress. And of course, the big challenge is, as Stefan already mentioned, is to make this sensitivity perform in the way that you get the signal out of it. But also here we have a lot of new technology like AI. So I'm convinced that we will get it.
I want to just start by saying that quantum sensors have already revolutionized healthcare and navigation to the level that most people don't even know they operate based on quantum. Yeah. So I think I agree with you that it's the big challenge, but there's also a sleight of hand where we can drop the quantum and just say, this is a great novel sensor, look at what it can do. Now to your point, Niko, we have been deploying quantum sensors in all sorts of operating environments really to learn from the deployment. We send it to emergency rooms and research centers, boats and ships and airplanes really to learn. And this first contact with first the customer and the real operating environment is really crucial because you can spend all the time in the lab that you want, but really putting it out there and learning what is the environment you're facing will really feed both the sensor choice and the system of sensors and the whole software layer on top of it to make it useful as well.
How important is domain knowledge in that respect? So because you get some data, and how important is it to have the right domain knowledge involved?
It's absolutely crucial. And not only on the AI side, you need it for the sensor choice, the system, and the software as well. Where the AI plays a role is that really understanding what type of noise flavor comes into your system to be able to get something useful out of it. There is a finite range of noise features. You really want to learn, you want to teach AI physics in order to make sure that it really denoises it properly. And this is where the denoise plays a role. This is the domain knowledge plays a role. Classical simulations as well, and operating, like really deploying it in operating environment.
So domain knowledge, I think, is the key word here as well, Alberto. Let's talk a little bit about what Airbus is doing in that context. According to the Handelsblatt, the German newspaper, you are a pilot customer of Bosch for navigation. Can you talk a little bit about what you are doing there?
Exactly. Let's say one of the priority, maybe the most important priority for Airbus and for aerospace companies is safety. Okay? And to ensure safe navigation, it is essential to know where you are, which direction you are heading. And currently we are relying on GNSS, okay? Which is very accurate and precise, as we know. But in today's uncertain climate, you might want to have a redundant system. You want to have some alternative when the GNSS is not available. And the quantum sensing is a powerful alternative. It will be a powerful alternative to navigate without relying on GNSS in a safe and secure way. There are several options for navigating. You can have inertial navigation systems based on quantum sensing, quantum accelerometer. You can measure the magnetic field, for example, which is an excellent idea to precisely localize yourself in 3D without relying on GNSS. So Airbus has been conducting several projects, both internally and externally funded, on different kinds of sensors in the last years. And we are continually exploring with different partners.
So what does that mean for the future of navigation? So as I'm a private pilot, I rely very much on VRR or on GPS. So I don't need this anymore then?
Well, at least initially you will still need it, but you will be able to bridge some gap. So let's say if you are in an area where you don't have a GNSS signal, then you will still be able to navigate for, let's say, maybe half an hour or 1 hour or so. This increases your safety as a private pilot, for example, when you navigate in some regions where you don't have a poor reception signal. In case of system failure, if your GNSS fails, you can still have redundancy, still be able to navigate. And also for opportunities for our soldiers and for our military forces who operate in contested areas, for example.
So safety is one area of impact,
exactly.
Of course. So what about independence?
Yes, there's another part. You're independent of the GNSS, maybe on the specific satellite constellations. Okay, you are not dependent, for example, on the GPS constellation or the Galileo. And in case you need to switch, for example, from one constellation to the other constellation, it might have some glitches. This allows you to be independent on the particular technology, let's say.
So Katrin mentioned commercialization as a very important step to be taken. How far are we down the road when it comes to navigation?
I think we are still in the bit in the early stage. We are progressing very, very fast. The technology is maturing at an exponential rate. Currently, we do have a very good classical sensors, okay, which are also already small and very cheap. So the challenge for quantum sensing will be to be, say, as good as better, and still be cheap and small.
Are you testing it already in reality, or?
Probably I cannot really share anything public about this. We do have several projects in this area for sure. Yeah.
But I think, Stefan, you guys made a big announcement of a trial together with the US Air Force.
Exactly. We were testing it both with government and industry partners. We have been flying it. We've been invited to really participate in one of the US Air Force exercises and fly our quantum sensing magnetometer in this operating environment. In parallel, last week there was an announcement from Boeing that they were really flying INS systems and also quantum magnetometers in which we participated. So we are really looking to expand both the portfolio of both government and industry players.
So in your perspective, what are the biggest hurdles to be, thrown away to really make it usable? Mm-hmm. What needs to happen over the next 3 to 5 years? Katrin, maybe, or Janina?
As I already mentioned, for us, the biggest hurdle is the ecosystem. We have still not the products in the quality and in the in the scalability as we need it really to produce a mass product. So this is the biggest hurdle right now. We're working very hard as Bosch to really enable also our suppliers that they can really deliver the right parts, but this takes time. And I would say US 2 to 3 year time frame are very realistic.
I think you're mentioning a very important point here when it comes to supply, supply of parts for quantum sensors. You know, when we look into the supply chain, we realize that there are only a very few companies, you know, supplying the diamonds or the lasers or whatever. So, how are you dealing with this?
We are dealing in that way that we really cooperate with the suppliers to develop the right product for our sensors.
So you are cooperating, basically?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It makes no sense in this early stage to really set up a case of specification, a set of specification, and throw it over the wall and say, do it. It has to be yes, and has to be done in a collaboration.
Yeah. And how is Sandbox dealing with this?
I can maybe echo as strong as I can Katrin's point, which is we really need a supply of cost-effective, scalable sensors. Because any real-world application would require a system of large system of sensors, and this will really enable us to really get a useful measurement out of them. And not only this, I also foresee the flywheel effect, where if there's more sensors out there, they will be in the hands of more researchers, which will allow to even find better or maybe more exciting applications of them. Measuring heartbeats, magnetic field of the heartbeats is only one of them, but who knows what other diagnostic predictions we can have if we have the widespread, cost-effective sensor out there. For example, MCG has been around since the 70s or 80s, and the reason why we have never heard about it is really because it hasn't been built in a cost-effective way. So think ECG, not MRI, when it comes to really the next push of the quantum sensing technology.
And from the user's perspective, Janina?
I would absolutely agree that, first of all, we need to create proven clinical outcomes, robust outcomes, and then creating the business case. As mentioned, the big three ologies, you've been talking about heartbeat, yet also neurological diseases, especially in an aging population like Alzheimer's, like Parkinson's disease. Also monitoring then of the pharmaceuticals that you have in your body to really measure what is the peak, what is the best dosage for a patient to stay healthy and to be healthy. I really do believe clinical trials are needed there with tangible and reliable clinical outcomes.
Okay. Alberto, from your perspective?
Yes, I would add that supply chain is a key topic for all quantum technologies, not only quantum sensing, but also, say, quantum communication and quantum computing. And an important fact is to ensure, say, to supply chain, and also ensure that we have a supply chain based in Europe. We know it is a critical technology critical technologies for our future, for Europe as a whole. So we need to have suppliers based in Europe on this, and it's not always possible yet. So we need to work on this.
As we have the US and Europe represented on this panel here, when it comes to, you know, the importance of quantum sensing in the context of quantum technologies, you know, how good are we in Europe in that respect? So are we leading the pack here? You know, when I look into quantum computing, you know, the US for sure is still, I would say, in the lead, taking China out for a moment. But when it comes to quantum sensing, how would you evaluate the position of Germany and also of Europe?
I would say Europe is very, very strong in quantum sensing. I can't say that it's leading because I don't know China. It's a closed shop.
Yeah, China is always very intransparent.
Yes, but I see that the quantum sensing there is very strong Germany, and we have there all the quality of German engineers are coming up in quantum sensing.
How would you, from the US perspective, evaluate this?
I wouldn't say there is a lead. I think both continents are very strong, although maybe there's a different emphasis on different technologies. The NV Diamond is very strong in Germany and in the Europe. Other magnetometers, especially in the startup case, are also prevalent in the US. I'm also very happy to see I see so many startups as well working on quantum sensing in this room alone. So this also tells me that there is really strong push on the European side, not only to develop quantum sensors, but to commercialize them. So I wouldn't really say, I understand for networks and computing, there are maybe front runners in each of these cases. In quantum sensors, I don't think I would put a front runner there.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we have time for 1 or 2 questions from the audience. So I don't know whether there is a question in the audience to the panelists. Any interest, any question, something you would like to learn? Nothing. Nobody. Nobody
Nico,
wants to volunteer.
If there is no question, maybe we can ask the audience a question. Just spontaneous, a little field research. Who of you would rely on a quantum sensor if it comes to your health, like cardiac fibrillation or neurological diseases? Any of you would rely or would be a guinea pig for these clinical trials?
All right.
So everybody. So you can take them all and just put them into a trial then.
I mean, it gives me really a good feeling, and I love to also include the audience and to see how open is the. Well, you represent the general public, maybe with a little tweak more to the quantum side. But this is really what is important, yeah, that we have these kind of pioneers who are really taking this step into the next decade or the next century of healthcare.
Yeah, so from our McKinsey perspective...
There's a question.
Oh, there's a question.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Oh, Anna. It's very hard to... The mic is coming.
So I was just wondering, I mean, you're talking now also like pioneers about quantum sensing and how that will influence especially healthcare and also navigation and really critical use cases that we see. But what do you think, I mean, is the timeline actually to have that in the market? I mean, really broadly to the masses. You asked now like kind of about user adoption. I mean, this is from the one side, but what is about from the corporate side, about all the commercialization, etc.
So the question again was about the timeline and the commercialization. So when do we have the first quantum sensor in our hands, meaningful, miniaturized, and being able to be produced in a mass production?
Yeah, I mean, not only kind of like in the mass production, but also really, when do you think is the time ripe to, for the users to adopt that? So how long do you think, I mean, also Janina, to your point, when do you think all these use cases can be implemented and will then be spread into the market?
How long do you estimate?
What was the question?
The question was...
Sorry, I didn't get it. It was...
No, it's very hard to understand here at the stage. But the question was about the commercialization. When do we expect the first quantum sensors in our hands being able to be used? Yeah.
So we start right now with piloting. We're working together with Airbus. So there are sensors which you can have in your hand and you can use it.
They are still trials, so I think the question was more in, when do we have a commercialized version of that sensor?
I would say it takes a couple of years, but not 10 years.
Okay, so less than 10 years. That's...
Yeah.
We have been, as Katrin said, testing it. Also in the healthcare side, we already concluded 1 clinical study with our quantum sensing system. We're running 2 more in November. That's roughly then a year away from the FDA approval. Now, what is the commercial aspect of this? There's 2 sides of health economics.
Exactly.
You need to show the health side, but also the economic side. And that depends on the production of the scalable sensor itself. So,
all right.
Still a couple of years.
Less than 10 years.
Maybe to add on that, I believe the sweet spot of quantum sensing in healthcare is what I mentioned earlier, that it's not invasive. So we are a highly regulated market in healthcare, yet if you have non-invasive diagnostics, that helps also to accelerate the go-to-market, I would say. And I would agree with you, Katrin, it depends in which use case you're specifically looking.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you very much. Please give a big hand to this great panel. Thank you.